anecdotally some of the phone calls we get.
And Mayor, while we have you there, is there any updates from your office, Representative Isaacson, that you'd like to share?
Well, we're in session today.
There you go.
I don't know what to, I don't know what's going to go on. You know, everyone's trying their best to make sure people are responsible and, you know, make sure that the people that were laid off and the businesses can get access to the loans and to the UC money. And now, hopefully, knock on wood, the system's getting up for the CARES Act for the gig workers, so that hopefully they can get in the system and start getting the funds that were made available by the federal government to carry them through this until we can get back up and running. I'm cautiously optimistic that'll be done sometime this week. I know the Department of Labor and Industry is not only hiring, but they're bringing back retirees who know how to work the system to get people processed, because, you know, even if they hire somebody, then people have to be trained. At least the retirees or the annuitants previously had done this before they retired, so we can get people processed, because that seems to be a huge source of frustration for business owners and for their former employees that they're trying to keep afloat until we can get possibly them back employed by you. And I know the Department of Community Economic Development is also working hard to make sure that the money is getting out there for the small businesses. But everyone just be patient, because as everybody else has been told to stay home, you know, the government workers are trying to learn how to access and do all this while at home also. So.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions for Representative Isaacson? Next, Senator Farnese, you still on the call?
Yep, I'm here. Yep.
Senator, is there any updates you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think Representative brought up you know, all the points. Again, thank you for, you know, what you guys are doing, and certainly in terms of our men and women in uniform. One of the things I'll dovetail on that the representative said is the frustration that a lot of, I think, folks are having with unemployment compensation. You know, we had a call with them on Saturday morning, and my caucus, Senator Tartaglione set it up, and the amount of calls, and Representative, you probably know this as well too, the amount of calls and claims that have been filed in these last 3 weeks are over 1 million compared to what they've had, you know, just over the last 3 months. So while a lot of folks are frustrated and they're, you know, they're concerned because of the backlog, they are really moving as quickly as they possibly can. And the point that the representative brought up about them bringing in folks that have been in the system before, that understand how to do it and what to do, I think it's really important to have them back in as well. We're actually having a caucus today. The Senate is not in session today. The House is. The House is getting ready to deal with some of the other pieces. I know the representative and I both have a bill in about, I believe it's evictions. Is that, am I right, Representative?
Yeah.
We're trying to do a couple of different legislative things as well too, to sort of ease the burden on not only the, you know, the business community, but our folks that are dealing with things right now and having to go back to work, and, you know, hopefully it's sometime this summer. So I think it's just a very fluid day to day, and you know, sort of just waiting to see. Really, the concern I think is, you know, when people are going to be able to go back in terms of and getting back into work and not pushing this too quickly. And I think that's what a lot of us are concerned about around the state, especially from areas, you know, for instance, like Senator Swank up in Berks County, where they haven't had a significant amount of, their outbreak hasn't really been that serious, you know, sort of putting folks out there too soon. So there's a lot of different issues going around right now, and certainly we'll try to keep you up to date as much as we can. And I think we're trying to push that information out on my social media as much as I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that's going on this week is just here's your reality check for all of you that you're attached to a state that doesn't exactly think like Philadelphia. They're going to try and open up businesses today and toss it over to the Senate to try and get them to do it to override the governor, because the person in Washington, D.C. tells us all that we're going to be up and running. And what they're not really thinking about is that even when we can get back up and running, which hopefully the numbers are holding, and we will eventually be opening up some slowly, is that life is going to be a lot different. It's not going to be, go and we can have a great big street festival, because I think people are going to have to continue with the masks for a while, or the cover up, until we can really get vaccines and testing going. And so I think it's going to be a slow rollout, regardless of what some of my colleagues from other parts of the state want to do. So I know I've been getting a big lobby with regard to some of the proposals that are out here, and like from the realtors. I understand that they want to get their transactions finished, and we have legislation that's supposed to be going through today that will allow for virtual or online notaries so that you can finish those transactions, but we can't open up to somebody trying to have an open house. So you got to realize that when you hear stuff coming out, it may sound good, but you have to think of the potential realities of the way these things are going to play out. It's going to be the same also with opening businesses, trying to decide what should be open and what's the state of being open. So that's something that you just understand as we're going forward when you hear things and people are plotting these things, that's how it's going to have to be.
Quick question. Senator, you mentioned your eviction bills. Any little details you can share of what that will be, the relief that you're hoping to get for the tenants?
Yeah, I mean, basically to basically put off evictions for, I forget what the time period is in the legislation, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think the representative, had introduced a version of the bill, I think, in the House, and I followed her lead in the Senate and did that. Yeah. Yeah,
it's basically, Mark, we put it so that while you're in the state of emergency, you can't be evicted. Now, what happened was while since it hasn't moved, because legislatively we have to do other crazy stuff, we can't do logical stuff. The Attorney General has come in and put the same kind of stay in it. The difference between what we have proposed legislatively as opposed to what the Attorney General did is that there would be a fine for landlords that would be trying to evict somebody.
Right.
During the state of emergency. But like I said, the Attorney General's already come in and put this in place. So it's a matter of if somebody knows that that's happening, they should call the Attorney General's office.
Gotcha.
Can I ask a question? Just because I own 6 or 7 properties in low-income areas. And I do agree with not evicting anybody right now.
Right.
There you go.
I can afford it right now. That being said, if I needed mortgage relief,
a week.
Mortgage companies are willing to give me 90 days to not pay my mortgage.
You'll be getting more than when you work.
It doesn't pay their rent for 90 days, costs me nothing, costs them nothing. Except that in 90 days, most likely my tenant will not be able to pay.
That's why you deserve it.
My mortgage company will want all 3 months in full. So they want to have forbearance. So they want all of March, all of April, all of May, all of June, and all of July, 5 months. Let's just say my mortgage is $1,000 and it's $5,000. The ability of my tenant to pay that is going to be slim to none. At which point, all of us smaller people, which I think the majority of the rentals in Philly are people who own 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. There are people who own hundreds. But the majority of us, I think at that point, will not know how to survive. I'm in a good spot where out of 11 properties that I own, only 3 have mortgages on them. So I can cover it, and I'm not speaking for myself. Just when you guys are talking about the evictions and the forbearance, that money's due, and if there's no money coming in for the tenants to pay for it, a lot of small landlords will be put in a position of either selling it at a loss or not being able to make mortgage payments and the foreclosing on it, which will also be bad for the city. So
I
Yeah.
agree with you, John. That's something that
John, totally sensitive to that, and I believe that you should be able to apply for, especially because you're a business. I'm assuming you own these rentals in a corporation. You should be able to apply.
these are before I was my things I own now with other people. My bigger projects, that's all LLCs
Right.
and corporations. These are personal rentals my wife and I bought about 10 years ago. So they're in our personal name. We can't apply for those things. And I know there's other people that when we bought them that we talked to that also have, there's a lot of people who maybe you're a mid-level manager at a pharmaceutical company, you have 2 or 3 rentals and your mortgage and what your rental income is kind of even. That there's either relief for those people or some kind of, I don't know what the right answer is for, but.
Yeah, I don't know either, because you want to know something, if you're renting the properties out and you have a rental license even in your own name.
Yes.
Yeah, so so you're recognized as a business entity in some way, shape, or form by the city. So the question is possibly through the, Mark Squilla might be able to answer this better, or his office if they want to look into it, is since you're recognized in yourself as a business entity, as a landlord, that there might be something through PIDC or something else, because the city does recognize you with your business tax ID number, that might make you eligible for some of the funding that's going through that.
Okay.
And
This is,
go ahead.
hey, I just wanted to real quick talk to the recently passed Federal CARES Act. I'm not certain if you're familiar with the fact that they recently modified the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which does apply to landlords. It's the loans available through the SBA, has a term of up to 30 years with an interest rate of 3.75%, has an automatic deferral of principal and interest for all of 2020, and it actually provides up to $10,000 in emergency grants. And it's an individual can borrow up to $2 million under that loan.
Thank you, Sam. That alleviated me having to say that. And she said it much better than I could. One of the things, John, also, in which we discussed at our last meeting, I think you were actually talking to Karen, who was on the call from Wells Fargo. If you have mortgages, many of the companies, banks, lenders will allow for forbearance applications to defer mortgage payments on rental properties just for this reason. So certainly we recommend to anybody that may be in the position that John's talking about, contact your mortgage provider, your lender, and talk about applying for a forbearance, so at least you can delay some of the requirements or responsibilities you may have to them while you may not be getting rent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It will be delayed, but the chance of the tenant going, oh, I now have 5 months worth of rent for you, or 4 months or 6 months.
No, that's true.
How long it's going to be. You're going to owe that money in 6 months, and then it becomes an issue. Right now, everybody's calling up and getting those payments delayed that can't afford it.
I think one of the things too, John, is because this is so fluid, and certainly I want to get to Councilman Squilla, is each and every day, as our elected officials know, as we see, there's different things coming, different changes coming, different programs. So hopefully, we hope there may be another stimulus package that may have another influx. Certainly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Small Business Administration opportunities again, because that seems to be really the only game in town right now. But